Now this, in a scandal befitting porridge or even Selwyn Froggitt. There's a cultural reference for the kids. Convicted Somalian hotel migrant Hadush Kebatu was accidentally released from prison to go free instead of being sent to a deportation centre. You know the story. Having now been rearrested after a weekend of humiliation for prison staff and the Home Office, the Deputy Prime Minister is hurriedly setting up a probe into exactly what went on. Now nicknamed Calamity Lammy, love it. Let's have a listen to the Deputy Prime Minister in action.
I can tell the House that he will now be transported for deportation back to Ethiopia as quickly as possible. However, this does not change the fact that Mr. Kebatu's victims are rightly outraged about what has happened. And I'm livid on their behalf. And on behalf of the public, this was a mistake that should not have happened. The victims expect better, the public expects better, and this government expects better from a critical public service, which plays a vital role in our first duty to keep the British people safe and free.
To keep the British people safe, nice bit of editing there, very slick stuff. Of course, that was him trying to sound serious. It wasn't quite so serious when Robert Jenrick was replying, and Mr Lammy, for some reason, was almost in hysterics, laughing at the Conservative response. Let's get a word with Cllr Stuart Davies, former magistrate, member of Reform UK's Policing and Crime Task Force. Stuart, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Ian.
You've got a lot of experience across all sorts of areas, from policing to what you do now and the magistrates' court set up and all that goes with it. So you're across these kind of details. It was extraordinary to hear David Lammy say our first duty is to keep the public safe, just shortly after, under his watch, that a prisoner walked out of jail.
Yes, it was actually quite... I didn't actually like watching him in government yesterday. I thought it was absolutely abhorrent, the way that he acted. He's quite right. He's got a responsibility to the public. But this, what I keep constantly seeing with these Labour ministers in particular, is a lack of empathy when it comes to these sexual offences. And to see the laughing and the shenanigans going on in the House was very upsetting, to be honest.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And bearing in mind that what's at the centre of this is a man that was convicted of sexual offences, and to see the Justice Secretary sort of giggling away and mocking his opposition speaker, who happened to be Robert Jenrick. Whether Jenrick was right or wrong in what he was saying isn't the point. You simply set a certain tone when you're surely a member of His Majesty's Cabinet.
Exactly. And also it was brought up that other prisoners have been released under the Conservatives' watch, but we have to remember that the Ministry of Justice have released figures that that was under 45 people during 20 and 21. We're now at about 300, just under 300 people being released early under Mr Lammy's watch. And this needs to be, this needs to be outed and spoken about, because there is a lack of procedural professionalism, to be honest, because people shouldn't be being released early. And I did state this morning on social media that Mr Lammy's actions, as a parent, he's got children himself, seeing his actions laughing on national television, I just wonder how the parents of that young 14-year-old girl would have reacted to that. And we all know that feelings and emotion influence each other, but emotions get the better of people sometimes.
100%.
That would have been very, very difficult to watch for them.
Yeah, it was just a very ill-timed moment from David Lammy, but I've never been able to quite pinpoint what David Lammy's experience is in, frankly, any area, Stuart. So perhaps he knows no better. I don't know. But he didn't do too well as the Foreign Secretary, and here he is as the Justice Secretary.
Well, as Foreign Secretary, he insulted one of our best allies, President Trump, calling him a neo-Nazi. I mean, what foreign secretary would think that they're going to have any sort of relationship with anyone
when he said those sort of things in the... Yeah, it's quite interesting how they sort of rode back on that and went, oh, it was just in the past, it's the way it is. Right. I don't know. Maybe Trump understands that kind of thing, who knows. But it is rather fascinating that we're in this curious place where the judiciary and the justice system, I mean, it's at breaking point, isn't it? I mean, this is there were hundreds of people who were wrongly released in the last year, as we now know.
Yeah, without a doubt. And now we're looking at, this particular offender, Kebatu, was released early. And, if he would have offended again, that would have been one thing. But also, we have to remember now that this Labour government are looking at not sending to prison under any 12-month sentencing.
Yeah.
So he would have walked free anyway.
Indeed.
And that, to me, is just ridiculous, because the magistrates' court can only sentence up to 12 months. So are we saying that the magistrates' court is going to be irrelevant from now on for any custodial sentences? They'll be totally irrelevant. If you're getting heard in magistrates' court, categorically that you're not going to be going to prison.
Yeah.
So that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. This fella is meant to be deported at some point. Mr. Jenrick said he should be deported by the end of the week, and if he's not, the Justice Secretary should resign, to which, again, David Lammy mocked him for that point. But I thought Jenrick had a reasonable point in at least pointing out the urgency to get this sex offender out of our country.
Well, exactly. We've paid for him to be here in the first place. We're now paying to keep him here. He should have been deported immediately, as quick as possible after being found guilty of that offence.
Yeah.
And what's happened now, as I say, if he would have come out and committed further offences, what on earth would the Labour government be saying then? Would they still be thinking that this is funny? Laughing as if it's some sort of joke? It's really, really disgraceful to watch MPs in such a position of trust and a position that they've been voted in by the public, the British public, acting in that manner. Yeah. And as I say, the lack of empathy that I see from these ministers, all of them, Starmer, Reeves, Lammy, I've seen them all. It's as if they have the same rhetoric, the same tone, and it's absolutely awful to see the lack of empathy from these MPs. Spot on.
Stuart, great to have you on with us, sir. Thank you. We will speak again. Councillor Stuart Davies. He's a former magistrate. He's a former cop. He's now a member of Reform UK's Policing and Crime Task Force. If you didn't see the footage of David Lammy almost rolling around like a Cadbury smash alien, another cultural reference for the kids, then it was embarrassing, because what was at stake here was the story of a man that had been wrongly released from prison, who was charged with sexual assault of a 14-year-old girl and a woman as well. This was a wrong 'un through and through. He's going to be deported at some stage. Don't hold your breath. Within a hearing like that, even if I'm not expecting David Lammy to agree with what Robert Jenrick said, they were opposing members of Parliament. Can you imagine going back a few years and seeing Justice Secretaries howling away, mocking their opposition because they didn't like the cut of their jib or the kind of questions or the points they were making, laughing almost hysterically at them. Look at him with his silly questions. Who do you think? Really? But think of the subject matter. Read the room, David Lammy, or as he's now known, Calamity Lammy, which kind of works.